I'm Scott Al Miller. It is the 14th of November, 2023. This is my vlog of daily life. Living in Latin America, I am in Costa Rica today, but only for a little bit. I started off the morning here while I wait to catch my flight, which is heading off to Lima, Peru, in about 8 hours from the time I'm recording this, which is a long time to have to just sit and wait. I've already been here for most of the day, but it gives me lots of time to relax, some time to get the videos ready for you guys, and I am going to be heading over to the airport here in just a couple hours so I can sit at my gate and be bored there instead of being bored here in the hotel, which is not ideal because it's easier to do the videos here than there, but it is what it is, and I don't want to be taking any chances with missing flights or anything like that, so we're going to be heading off there soon, but we're on a big adventure. Today is a complete travel day, so everything you're going to be seeing on today's episode is getting from Costa Rica, San Jose, Costa Rica, where I am right now, off through a transfer through Lima, Peru, and then on to my final destination of the day, sort of, in Santa Cruz de la Sierra in the Amazon basin of Bolivia. But even that is just for 12 hours. I'm leaving the airport, hanging out with some friends, and tomorrow we'll be getting to Cochabamba, which is the real destination where we're going to be filming, hopefully, if I'm not too sick, for most of the week. So I'm looking forward to that. But with no further ado, we're going to hit the bump and take you on to the adventures of the day. So I started the day here in the hotel. I slept great, got a full night's sleep, feel really good this morning, got up, did a little bit of housekeeping, got uploads going. Everything is charging as I'm recording this. I've done a great job of, it's done well getting everything backed up to the internet, so I'm not carrying around a bunch of videos that have not been sent up just in case something happens. I'm trying this is so much digital diligence has to be done. I just coined that term for you guys. Has to be done on a trip like this to make sure we're able to maintain all of the data that is used to make the videos while I also try to edit the videos in real time. This is tough. So the actual date that I'm here, I'm filming on the 12th. That is the day but we're skewing everything by 2 days. I'm going to try to stop mentioning that too much, but while I'm showing the logistics of travel, mostly so my dad can figure out when and where and how I got there safely. So I'm actually recording this on the morning of the 12th. After getting my uploads going, I walked in front of the hotel. I'm at the Hampton Inn and Suites by the San Jose airport, and went to Rosti, which I was really hopeful was going to be a Swiss restaurant. Of course it isn't. Rosti is a term, at least in this area of the Spanish-speaking world, for a chicken rotisserie restaurant, which you would say, well, Scott, you're a vegetarian, doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I understand, but it's breakfast, so there's tons of eggs and gallo pinto and stuff. So I went there and got a regular regional burrito for breakfast, which is gallo pinto, eggs, some, veggies or whatever, and it's just a breakfast burrito. Did that, got some coffee. I skipped coffee yesterday because I didn't want to take any chances on the bus. Today, I've had 2 cappuccinos at Rosti, and by the way, the customer service and everything at Rosti, fantastic, really impressive. It's so funny. It's a chicken rotisserie restaurant, and I swear going into it gives me a little bit of a vibe of a Cracker Barrel and a little bit of a vibe of Disney World. They really managed to put a polish on a chicken rotisserie restaurant that you would think would be this very Central American rough kind of just we do some roast chicken kind of thing, and it is such a Disney breakfast restaurant experience. It's funny how much Costa Rica is able to put on that type of presentation on the country. And it's one of the reasons why potentially living in a city like San Jose can be so fantastic. It is such a well-designed experience for people who live here or pass through. You have to put up with a lot of tourism, which gives it a very different character than a lot of the other big cities in the region. But because of that, you also get so many restaurants, so many things per capita. But it is a big city, 2.2 million. So it's a really interesting urban area, I think. It's expensive for the region, but certainly one of the most interesting and unique urban experiences within Central America. No, there's nothing else really like it, which is pretty cool. So did that, got my breakfast, got back to the hotel, and I'm doing the updates now. I'm basically all packed. I have very little to do, trying to relax a little bit, and then I'm going to be working a little bit on the videos and stuff from the airport where I have lots of time. So that's basically my update for now. Not super interesting this morning, and today is just not a super interesting day, but I think it's going to be interesting for you guys to see how much or little effort really goes into getting to South America. This is my first time doing a South America trip, coming from Nicaragua. So this is, the whole like taking a bus to San Jose. You can fly out of, I should mention, you can take Copa out of Managua and fly south that way. They will universally hop through Panama City. That is their hub airport. Copa is the flag carrier for Panama. And then they can take you to a number of locations in South America. So that's one way to go. And of course, a lot of people wonder why I didn't do that. Typically the flights there are quite expensive, and I don't have any barrier from coming to Costa Rica. So to save quite a bit of money, I did this. And I think so. I don't remember all the details that went into all the flights, but this is what worked out as the most sensible flight. From here going south, typically you're either going to fly on Avianca. They have the majority of the flights. However, right now I couldn't find a single flight on them this whole week. Like they just weren't an option. They kept popping up. I'd be like, okay, let me try Avianca. They're the flag carrier for Colombia, and every single one is like, nope, no flights available, no flights available. So it kept acting like there were flights, but then there weren't any when you actually went to Avianca. So they were out of the question. A few other little airlines here and there fly down, but then the major one that services San Jose to the region is LATAM Airways, which is I don't know where all their hubs are, but the one that keeps coming up for us is out of Lima. Hence why I'm flying through Lima to do the transfer into. So most flights coming from this northern region in Central America going into South America will hub through some combination of Panama City in Central America, Bogota in Colombia, or Lima in Peru. Almost everything is going to pass through one of those cities, unless you're in the really, really, really rare path that you can do from Managua to Havana, Cuba, and then down to Caracas. Then you start getting into if you fly around all over the place, you can do all kinds of things. But so those are the main flight paths. So I'm very interested to learn how LATAM's path works, how easy it is because it's very low cost. Once you get frequent flyer miles on someone like that, if you're going to use South America all the time, which is an important part of living in Latin America, is this access that's so easy to such a huge world that all speaks the same language and has a certain cultural affinity. But it's like Europe, where there's a lot of variations between the different countries, both climatically and culturally and culinarily. It's a really interesting region with, I think there's nowhere in the world, and this is true in every region of the world, right? Southeast Asia is unique. Sub-Saharan Africa is unique. Latin America is unique. Of course they are. Each region is enough different than all the other regions that they really do stay separate. I think the mix of things in Latin America, with its massive urban centers and huge empty areas and its really urbane culture and really heavy artistic and culinary experience, makes it, while being very affordable, makes it one of the best blends of things for visiting around the world, and so often overlooked because of where it's located. And it's interesting because I'm going to Bolivia. When I fly into Santa Cruz de la Sierra, it is going to be about 100 degrees. So it's in the Amazon basin, so it's going to be hot and humid, just terrible. And it is so far south that it is almost in line with the top of South Africa. It's in line with the very southern portions of Botswana in Africa. It's so hard to picture that. This is still northern South America, and we're really close to the very southern tip of Africa. So this is really far south. And this is going to be, when I pass through Peru, that will be the farthest south I've ever been in my life. And so when I get down to, I believe Santa Cruz is going to be the farthest south I am on this trip, I'm going to be really far south. And then Cochabamba's pretty close to being the same, and then La Paz is farther north. So without that's the plan, and I'm going to get some editing done. I'm going to get these files backed up, and we're going to get ready to head to the airport. So we'll see everybody from there. It was an amazing day of travel, and there's just so much going on. So I'm going to do my best to tell you about the trip, because this is useful for people who may be coming down to South America. So I was completely wrong on how long things were going to take, and I did several shorts. So if you have not started following along, and I know you'll be seeing this many days after I'm well into the trip, but still, go check out the shorts because I show bits from the airports and the flights and all those little things as it happens, and it's always a great way to follow my travels when you're interested in what my adventures actually are. But here's the big details. So my flight out of Costa Rica was in the evening. Everything went perfectly smoothly. It was a long day of waiting at the airport, but that's fine. I would so much rather just hang out at an airport and be chill and relaxed and bored than to be rushing around and feeling that stress of maybe I'm going to miss my flight. That is the last thing you ever want to have happen when you're doing international travel. Trust me, I know every YouTuber who's like, travel, man, just get used to it. You're going to use the lounges and wait till the last second, and they'll always let you on the flight. That is not how it works, and you're going to feel a lot of stress, and you're going to get away with it a few times, and then you're going to miss a flight, and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars. You're going to miss a vacation. You're going to be upset. People are going to be mad at you. Just be responsible. Get to the airport early. Take some boredom, and make sure you don't have huge things go wrong. Trust me, there's going to be times where you have to rush and you have no choice, and that's fine. But when you have time, don't try to fill every possible moment just for the sake of doing it. You're not going to save that much time, but you are going to save a lot of tears and heartache and problems and money. So I had my long day, had my shuttle ride over to the airport. Everything went great. Got to the airport, had to wait quite some time for the actual flight to open. So I was sitting so that I could check my bag and everything with LATAM, because LATAM only flies in the afternoon. United flies in the morning, so we had to wait for United to be all done. So I was sitting, I was talking to some Chileans, which was actually surprising to me that talking to Chileans, the accent is actually easier for me to be able to speak to them in Spanish than to Costa Ricans. Costa Ricans I find very hard. Everything was fine at the airport, got through security, lickety-split, went and was at the gate. It's a small airport in Costa Rica, so I found a little gastropub in the airport, had a veggie wrap, had a little bit of beer because of my last chance to drink, and I knew if I drank now, it'll be completely worn off by the time I get to Bolivia, and I have all day tomorrow where I'm going to be in Bolivia, but not at altitude to have all the alcohol wear off. So no problems, because I've got to step my way up into the Andes throughout the day. So today was getting on the plane and getting all that moving. So the flight to Peru took off on time. I was totally off on this. This is where I made my big mistake. I thought it was a really long flight to Peru with a really short layover. It was actually a really short flight to Peru with a decently long layover. So I was just totally off on that. The flight was 3.5 hours. I cannot believe that Lima, which is just past the midway point of Peru. Peru is an enormous country, first of all. If you've ever done one of those things where you do an overlay of Peru over top of the United States, it's massive. It's so much bigger than you realize. I don't care how big you think it is, it's bigger, right? So flying from Costa Rica to there, you have to fly over Costa Rica and Panama, which are not very big. And then you have to fly past Colombia, over Ecuador, and then over the majority, just a little bit over half of Peru to get to Lima. So that seems like a really long way, but it's only 3.5 hours. So very comfy. My flight was on LATAM. It was my first time ever using LATAM, and I have to say that was a great flight. Seats were comfy. The crew was amazing. Nothing went wrong. The app worked well. The boarding pass digital stuff worked well. Zero problems, which I'm always looking for an airline that is both affordable, goes places I want, and doesn't have a lot of problems. So I mean, I realized it was just one flight, well, 2 legs, but very happy so far with LATAM, and I've had a feeling they would be good. For those who don't know, they do have a major hub in Lima, but they're actually based out of Santiago, Chile. So on the flight, they did feed us. Unfortunately, it was a ham and cheese sandwich, but I could take the ham off. Maybe it was turkey and cheese, I'm not sure. I don't even know if I could identify meats anymore, for those who don't know, vegetarian, 22 years. So I had a cheese sandwich. It was perfectly good. They had some sweet bread thing. Everything was very Chilean, like completely different than you normally get on a flight. And you got coffee and stuff. And a little thing of chocolate. Everything was good. Very happy with the entire experience. No problems, from food to flight to flight attendants. Great. Landed in Peru. At Peru, we had to go through a bit of an international exchange, so you have to go through a little bit of security again. That took a little bit of time, but not bad, maybe 20 minutes. And then I actually had like a 3.5 hour layover in Peru. So I did just a tiny bit of videos on the shorts, but pretty much I just sat there. I was like, I don't want to deal with anything. I don't want anything to go wrong, and I'm very tired at that point because it was late at night, so it was an overnight layover because I'm taking the red eye to Bolivia. So that went well. I just waited upstairs because Lima is a really nice new modern airport, but the flights going to Bolivia are actually in the basement And it really feels like a different airport. You go downstairs, there's no restaurants, there's no shopping. It's just dreary airport, and you don't have the gangplanks going out to the planes. They actually put you on a bus and drive you out to it. So it's a very different experience than you get from the more fancy flights up above, but everything was smooth. It was very easy. Loads of places to charge my phone. Free Wi-Fi at every airport I've dealt with this week, including the ones that'll be in the future, and got on my flight to Bolivia, which is only 2.25 hours, I think. No problem with that. Got right on. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning that we boarded that. Also a LATAM flight. It was all in LATAM, and flew to Santa Cruz de la Sierra in eastern Bolivia, in the Amazon jungle. It's an area they've burned away the jungle and built a city of 2.4 million people there. So my arrival there was at about 4:30 to 5 o'clock in the morning. That's where I had to go through full security and immigration and all that into Bolivia. So I'm going to talk about that today, so I don't have to talk about it on tomorrow's episode. Tomorrow's episode, we're going to show the apartment that I'm now filling in and all that. But today I do want to go through like what it was getting into Bolivia, because a lot of my audience are interested in really interesting places to travel, and I want to make sure you know what you need to do to go to Bolivia. So, arriving in Bolivia early in the morning. As an American, you have to have a visa, but you probably can't get that visa ahead of time. This isn't completely crystal clear in all the documentation that you're reading, so it's very important to understand that you must have a visa, but you probably cannot get it ahead of time, so you have to get it when you arrive. That's a little bit risky because something could go wrong and you could be denied a visa. So make sure you do your research, like this video, have your ducks in a row, and talk to the embassy if at all possible, just to make sure that there's no problems anticipated and that nothing has changed. These things change all the time, so you got to be careful. All right, so the first thing is, how much does it cost? The visa costs $160 US, payable in cash or credit card. All of Bolivia, which we'll find out more in the days ahead, have an amazing credit card system. They do everything by card here. They are not a cash heavy country. So my experience so far is you can really use credit cards in Bolivia more than even in the US. Places that I would never expect to use it, no problem at all. Things like contactless seem to work flawlessly. They use pins, and the pins are randomized. So they actually move the numbers around on the pad so someone can't watch you from the side and know what you pressed. Really interesting. Things seem to work really, really well. Bolivia feels like a very technologically advanced country as a consumer using the market, if that means anything. So you go in, and what they show you to do is to go through the line into immigration, but that's not actually what you're supposed to do. If you do that, you'll go through this very long line and then be told you have to have a visa and you can't continue. So what you have to do is not go to a visa office. It doesn't say that. You have to go to a cashier. If you have any questions, if you can't find them, ask. But at least right now, you come down the stairs. They are on the left. This is at Yes, Vero Vero Airport, which is the main point of entry into the country in Santa Cruz de la Sierra. So that's the VVI, the big airport. So it's on the left. There's 2 cashier windows. You go up there, and $160 payable however you want to pay. And I'm sure they will take the local currency. I don't know how you would have that, American dollars or credit card. You then need to produce all of your paperwork for that process. So there is a form online at the embassy, at the embajada, that you can fill out and have you digitally upload. They have everything in their system. You have very good digital systems here. So if you have done that ahead of time, please make sure you do that. I do not know if they will let you in if you don't, probably, but trust me, you want it. You fill that out, and it gives you all the documents you have to have, but not always with great explanations. You need to have your passport. You have to have at least 6 months available on your passport, and 1 page available for the visa. That may catch you by surprise. You don't necessarily have to have, they did not ask me for a yellow fever vaccination. You do need one to leave the country. Make sure you have it, or you will be sorry. Trust me. Have a yellow fever vaccination, preferably at least 10 days before your trip. But if you're like, well, I haven't gone, I've only got 8 days. Get it now. Get the clock ticking, because it doesn't mature for 10 days. You're going to need it to leave Bolivia in most cases. And it won't be Bolivia that checks. Your disaster will happen somewhere else. You need to have a copy of your itinerary. Now, this is a little bit confusing. I don't know exactly what they need for this. They never explain. I used my flight in, so they know where I was coming from, my flight out, so I showed my tickets. They also definitely need, this was not in the upload, but they needed it in person. Make sure you have this. You must have a hotel, Airbnb, or place that you're going to stay. They need the address and the phone number of that place. This is very easy. I have an Airbnb, the one that I'm recording this in. I simply brought up Airbnb on my phone, showed it to them. They looked through, they got the phone number of the Airbnb from there, they got the address from there, they looked at the property and said, no problem. If you have a booking.com or something like that with all of your details, no problem. Just make sure you do that. You can, on Airbnb, get a printout of your reservations for visa purposes. There's a button that says that. So if you're doing Airbnb, consider doing that, having it in paper and just handing them that paper. You also have to have a letter of invitation. In some cases, you might be able to get this from Airbnb or a hotel or a tour company or something like that. I have friends here who wrote me a letter of invitation inviting me to visit the country, so I had no problem with that whatsoever. I had all of that, you upload it, and then they have a system to print that out. So I had all of it in paper. So when I walked up to the cashier, the caja, I just handed them that stack. And the one thing that was missing was the Airbnb. I gave them my phone. No problems, no questions, no like, I don't know. It was very smooth, very easy, very friendly, and it was that easy. So then they give you, they call it the sticker. It is a visa that takes up an entire page in your passport, has your photo on it. They take your picture right there and everything. And then they send you to get into the line for immigration. Then you go through, talk to normal border control, do the normal process of entering a country. They look for that visa. They'll ask you many of the same questions that they ask for that because they don't know. They do know, but they don't know when you got the visa. So they have to take a picture again. They have to check your address for your hotel, what your plans are, all that stuff. But it's just repeating the same things you just did. They do that though. So this is important. I did not know this. When you get that visa, that is a 10-year visa for Americans. So I can now come and go from Bolivia at will for the next decade. That's fantastic. $160, that is no problem for that. I've had other visas that are much cheaper, but they charge you every time you come and go, so that's really limiting. I realize that most people coming to Bolivia may only come to visit once, and you're like, $160 per person for a visit? That's a lot. It kind of is. It's not really bad. Bolivia is very affordable, so consider that. But that you can come and go and visit other countries around to come back to Bolivia, it's pretty nice. Bolivia is in the middle of South America, so it may be a place you want to visit more than once. And because of that being the visa case, I am very likely going to be returning here next year when we do our road trip and just starting in Bolivia. And there's no need for me to start in Paraguay like we had planned on because of that visa being different than I thought. So that was all great. Went through, got out into the airport from there, went right through. In that process of doing your digital diligence, doing all that stuff online, they will also, you can send that packet to the embassy and say, do I have everything? Is it good? And they just say, yeah, just show it at the cashier. They'll also give you, or you can find on the embassy site, a link to the customs form that you can fill. It's the same one they hand you on the airplane. You can fill it out on the airplane, no big deal. But if you fill it out at home, it's much faster. You do it all digital. You print it right out, and you just hand it to the customs agent, same as you do in every country, declare whatever it is you're going to declare, and whoop, right through the system so fast. Scan your bags, as always, and you're into Bolivia. I walked out into Santa Cruz de la Sierra, and that's where I'm going to be starting our story for tomorrow's video, talking about my adventures here in Bolivia. So I still have one more entire day of travel. This is a 3-day travel adventure for me, which is intense, and my trip back is going to be 4 days. So wow, this is an exhausting amount of travel specifically for this trip. It is much worse because we had a bunch of things shift on each side of the trip, making it much more difficult for me to schedule everything in a way that was really good. But I'm really excited to be in Bolivia. This is a new country for me. It is a new continent for me. And I'm going to be hitting 3 cities while I'm here. So I'm really going to be seeing Bolivia and I'm going to be here for about a week. Plus, it's nice getting a little bit of time in Costa Rica. It was neat getting to see Lima, Peru, even if just the airport. I got to see a little bit of something. And I'm having a good trip. Of course, it's a lot of time on a plane. Very, very tired. But it's going to be good. So thanks for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. I will be back. For those who are wondering when I'm back, a lot of people want to see me. It's always a problem when I travel that people are like, oh, I was just going to surprise you in Nicaragua and now you're not here for weeks. I'm like, yeah. I'm going to be back on the 24th. I will be in the country. I am absolutely unavailable on the 24th. I will not see your emails. I will not see your text. My daughter is having her quinceañera. I will be doing nothing but that sorry, but the people who live in my GoPro are not important for compared to my family. So this is a complete family day. Do not think you're going to see me. I will be exhausted over the weekend. So chances are I will just be trying to get caught up on a lot of things. I'm going to be very backlogged on work. So it's going to be tough for the next few days after I get back, just trying to make sure I'm caught up with all the work stuff and that everything's good. But starting around the 27th, I will be back on the ground in Nicaragua. So in theory, people who are trying to get a hold of me, meet up or whatever, I will potentially be available at that time. So just have that schedule in mind. Absolutely. If you try to reach me on the 24th, hey, I'm here, I will not see it, guaranteed. You may not see this by the 24th, I'm not sure. And as always, tell your friends and family about the show, share on social media, let people know, and I will see all of you from beautiful sunny Bolivia tomorrow.